Welcome to Nerd Index. Today we're giving our final review after playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I thought the game had very similar vibes to the Raiders of the Lost Ark movie, and it was an enjoyable backseat gaming experience. It was fun to help solve puzzles, be a second pair of eyes to check for collectibles, and the cutscenes were like watching a movie. The story is fun and sometimes a little silly, but it was an enjoyable experience overall.
Felt very much like watching an Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah. I thought the unraveling of the legend of the Great Circle and all of its components was interesting, and it was cool that it allowed us to travel to so many parts of the world. This game also really grabbed my completionist heart.
At a little bit of a detriment to my enjoyment of the game, which will be discussed later in the video.
The puzzles and mysteries are actually fun instead of frustrating, and a lot of the side quests are directly tied into the main quest, so they feel like they actually hold weight. The controls are really janky though, but not in an unplayable way.
Yeah, like, they weren't very precise, I think, was the big problem, especially in the sections where it required you to try and do a little bit of platforming. The camera was also very fun, though. I just wish taking random pictures would get saved somewhere in the journal or something so you could refer back to them later, even if the game didn't require you to take the picture.
We ran into quite a few bugs regarding collection completion, even though the game has been out since early December. So it would be like you're trying to get all the books off of the map, and then they start just like duplicating the icons, and you go to the place and there's obviously nothing there, or it's just floating in space, and you're like, what's going on? And so then you check Reddit, and Reddit's like, no, this is a known bug, and it's just there. Just deal with it. There were things like that. And then we also clipped out of the map twice, and one of them was that we were ziplining down onto a platform. Like, the game was literally meaning for you to be there, but you kept just like getting stuck in this piece of wood that they had at the end of the platform.
That one was annoying. The one in the desert temple was kind of fun because it allowed me to bypass one of the puzzles doing it a second time.
Look at the room we actually needed to go to.
Yeah.
But I hate that you have to run with the journal open on the map to see where your marker actually is for quests and stuff. But the running animation while you're doing it is kind of funny, so it's a little bit hit or miss. I think it's just going to depend on how you feel about having to keep opening the journal over and over. Another gripe that I had was there weren't enough signposts for the fast travel, but it was nice that they integrated it into the world of the game instead of you just opening a menu in the UI to fast travel or something.
I like when games take a minimal take on UI. I really like when games have a physical map for the map, like in Firewatch and this game a little bit. But I wish the game had done a little bit more of a seamless guidance system like Ghost of Tsushima instead of forcing you to have the map open to see any indication of where your next map objective was. Or make wayfinding easier in some locations so that you don't have to rely on the game's markers to find out where you're going. And some sort of reminder of where you are, or just kind of an indication of where you're going, like how a lot of games have the little like name of the region that pops down at the top, would be nice so that when you're approaching the signpost to try and figure out where you're going, you're not like, okay, I'm at the signpost, check the map, try and figure out what the nearest name is.
Or even just like if you had the journal open and it at least told you how many meters away you were from a thing, which goes back to another bug that we had about finding the last ancient relics in Thailand because it was not on the overworld map. And so we had to just like follow the marker on the boat, hoping to find it, and then finally realized it was underground. But if there had been like a meter distance, we could have been like, oh, it's in the south, obviously. Also, the signposts that we were given were not placed very well.
Yeah, there's quite a few times where it wasn't in a very useful location, which you would expect a signpost in the real world to be on a major intersection.
Or like it wasn't coverage of the whole area. There would be like 3 of them all in the center, and you're like, this isn't helpful. I feel like this game did a good job of actually giving you everything that you need in the moment to solve a problem. Like, there were only 2 times that we legitimately had to Google what was wrong, and one of them was because we thought a cursive O was a cursive A, and our method wasn't actually wrong.
Yeah, most of the puzzles were pretty easy to solve standalone without having to do anything.
Because they'll give you the notes that you read to figure out what's going on and to get some clues, and there'll be environmental things like weapons to pick up to open something, and, you know, reference the journal if you need extra help, all those things. And Gina was a good companion character and didn't get in the way most of the time of scooting through tunnels or blocking levers or anything in the game. And it has it set up so that you need her help to complete certain puzzles, so you shouldn't find yourself in any Skyrim-style Lydia situations with Gina. I think there was only one time that she was blocking our way through a tunnel, and it was... No, the one that we had the real issues with was the other lady, the side quest lady, Annika or something. So after leaving Marshall College, the Vatican is the first region that you go to, and I thought this area was the easiest to get around, and I enjoyed the verticality that they implemented with the Nazi guards forcing you to get creative by going on rooftops or through windows instead. They also had the underground section under the excavation site, but that was really hard to get in and out of once you got back to it for like collection completion and stuff, so it was a little aggravating, but it was another level of verticality and use of the map and everything like that.
Yeah, it was fine to go in the first time for the mission, but trying to find your way back through there after was a little bit tedious.
Because at least the mission gave you markers for like doorways and stuff. Then we went to Giza, which I didn't like as much as the Vatican area because it was a much bigger map and it just made it into a running simulator. At that point, it started to feel like the fast travel signposts really were not placed well. Like it actually became an issue.
Yeah, I just don't really like deserts in games either that much. Looking at Assassin's Creed Origins,
Genshin.
yeah, the Genshin Sumeru Desert, even most of the deserts in Legend of Zelda games I don't feel like are as good as the rest of the games.
Then we went to the Himalayas, and there's only one word necessary to describe the expedition segment there, which is unbelievable, both good and bad connotations. It is a relatively quick section of the game, but it holds a lot of story importance.
Yeah, it was kind of a interesting situation that you would never get into.
Yeah. All the sections before that were very real world possibility. Like you could see those things being explainable, and then you get to the Himalayas and you're like, oh, supernatural.
Why is there a boat up here?
It was very cool looking though. But this transitions you into the Shanghai area of the game, which was very small, and we were really just there passing through, although there's still a few notes to pick up. And we also had to go back to get a key for one of the final puzzles that's related to Thailand, but it's not there until you get to Thailand to go back to it, so don't bother doing it when you very first go through Shanghai.
Yeah, I felt like Shanghai was literally just a short transition area, which was kind of felt unnecessary.
Thailand is the last large area that you go to, and I liked the people that they filled out the village with, like Uncle Sunon and Pylon. Really, any of the side characters that we met in any region were well done and lovable. But having to mess with the boat all the time really bothered me, especially since you can't have the map out at the same time as driving the boat.
And since you can't have the map out when you're driving the boat, and you're trying to figure out where you're supposed to be going and which river bends you need to be taking, you drive for a little bit and then you coast on your boat for a bit while you pull the map out and try and look really quickly before you stop fully, and then it's a little annoying.
You're back and forth in and out of the journal and driving the boat so much trying to figure out. And it's like, I mean, I guess if you spent enough time in the region, maybe you would start to recognize different coastlines of the river, but that's just not the point.
Speaking of taking random photos, though, earlier, the two nuns that wanted a picture of Antonio, I really wish we could have given them a picture of Antonio. It would have been so funny.
Like, the game had us take a picture of him. He was a prompt, but we weren't able to just give it to them. So from the editing room, as we were recording footage for the video, we went back to the Vatican, and the ladies who wanted the picture of Father Antonio actually let us give them the photo. And I don't know if this is because we completed the game and now it's available, because we definitely went back to the Vatican a separate time before the credits rolled, and they still wouldn't let us give them a picture. Or like another thing in the Vatican was one of the gardens. There was a lady that was like, "Where's my paintbrush?" And the game let you give her paintbrush back, but nothing happened.
Yeah, there's a few of those kind of half-baked things in the game.
I mean, I appreciate some, like, simulation style, kind of grounding moments, but I also feel like I wish I could interact with them more then. Another thing that we had a problem with in Thailand was the dialogue when you were moving around the map was a little broken. So, like, you would stop at a dock and Gina would get out and she'd just randomly start saying a voice line that wasn't related to anything or was related to something that you did, like, an hour ago.
Yeah, it was kind of funny having her repeat lines and stuff because the dialogue trigger didn't get cleared or something.
I thought working our way through the hidden temple was fun, though. The platforming had tension, and it was nice not having to deal with the water for a while.
Platforming just had tension because you decide to jump onto something and you vault all the way over it and fall into the water and die.
I didn't like when we had the dream sequence in the cave. You were literally just running in circles, and it lasted a very long time. However, it did at least serve a purpose of showing us the state of Indy's psyche moving into the last portion of the game.
It was a really cool sequence, but it could have been a little bit shorter.
Could have cut it in half, I think. Then Iraq is the final zone that you go to, and it was fairly quick, but still well handled. It's just the one excavation site to explore, and then you go down into the ziggurat to finish the story quest.
Yeah, it was a nice, short and sweet kind of zone.
Because they had already built tension at the end of Thailand, and they understood how to maintain that tension to the point that you need to not waste time in a large area and go complete the story. As a total side note, I feel like the Indiana Jones theme music should have played every time that we ziplined, even though it would have been a little cheesy. It would have been fun.
It would have been funny to have it happen at least once or twice on the longer zip lines.
We also decided to collect all of the ancient relics in the game to unlock the secret ending, which is still accessible in Iraq after the credits roll. I'm not sure it was worth it though for what we saw, but it might be a hint of potential DLC, though don't take my word on that.
I think the ideal time to do it is actually after the credit rolls in Iraq.
Because the puzzle doors take a really long time.
And you'll have no idea what the cutscene means.
That too. Honestly, because we didn't see the door ahead of time, I'm not sure you can do it before the credits roll the first time.
You can, supposedly.
You can? Okay.
Yeah.
That would just be, so that would be weird. So just do the door after. But you see like 2 frames. You see a wall etching and you see the boat.
I thought the puzzle was more interesting than what we saw in the extra cutscene. It was kind of fun. It's probably not worth running around collecting all the relics, though.
That took a lot of time. So we finished the game in 35 hours with 91% of Steam achievements and 89% completion of the in-game collectibles. Overall, I think the experience of this game was worth the money, and it was a bonus if you're a big Indiana Jones fan. It was an 8 out of 10 for me.
I think I was closer to a 7 out of 10. Probably would have been an 8 out of 10, though, if we hadn't ran around collecting all the collectibles.
Yeah, like if we had just done the story mission and the side quests, you would have been happy.
Yeah, but that's just kind of how I am with games.
Yeah. So let us know if you've played Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, or if you're planning to, and if you're having fun, please like and subscribe.